with John Impemba and James Grande.
What is going on, FANation? John Impemba here with James Grande. Welcome into the Fantasy Alarm NBA DFS Playbook live stream. We have a Wednesday 14 game main slate. James, I saw some Twitter chatter last night about how DraftKings is always messing around with the slates. Some days they give us the 10 p.m. Some days they don't. They like to keep their slates into these 6 to 8 gamers, and then all of a sudden they give us this monster 14 gamer. Do you agree or disagree with the idea if they're going to commit to splitting slates that they should have just made this a 2-7 game slate, or do you like the full 14 gamer here?
I think, they obviously could have split it somewhat similar. I don't think it would have been and perfect because just the way that the times are spread out. So it's not just a 7-7 game slate, because you can't just make a decision. Okay, half these 8 p.m. games are going to be on one slate and half these 8 p.m. games. It's just kind of a time thing. So it would be close. I wouldn't mind them splitting it into smaller slates. I think it's a 14 gamer right before the All-Star break is very silly.
The conversation I saw was basically putting all the 7 and 7:30 games on one slate and the 8 to 9 p.m. games on another, and basically
so you'd have a 6-game slate and you'd have an 8-game slate is how it would be, and that's fine. It's tough because we always talk about why are we getting the late games cut off? Why are we getting the late games cut off? Why are we getting the late games cut off?
Yeah.
And there's technically only one really late game tonight, and it's cut off. And so at least that is consistent. It's obviously, if you do this for a living, 14 games is a lot of research, but that's what the slate. I'm not going to complain about having it because that's just kind of what it is, and you gotta grind, whether it's 4 games, 2 games, or 14 games. The most consistent, the thing that helps you win is staying consistent. So I don't love 14 game slates, but they didn't necessarily change what they cut off the late game. That's what they've been doing. They haven't let some of these slates, it's been the late games that's been cut off, and that's kind of what's happened here. So my opinion doesn't ultimately matter because they are going to do what they're going to do, but it is, with 14 games, we move on and we hopefully, we win some money tonight.
I'll say this, for 14 games, we have one player that is expected to be over 50% roster. That is a rarity on a slate this large. We will obviously discuss those players as we work our way through today's slate. We appreciate all of you who tune in with us each and every day. Yes, we are coming up to the NBA All-Star break, but definitely appreciate the support. You guys want to throw some questions in the chat? Happy to help you guys out. Cujo popping in saying hope everybody's doing well, and Coach Chris is saying let's run it up here today. Again, 14 games. There's just so much to talk about. We go position by position. We'll build a lineup at the end of the show. Your top guys up over $10,000. Jokic 12.5, Wemby 11K, SGA 10.8. We have a Luka Doncic upgraded to probable at 10.7, LeBron James at 10.5, Cade Cunningham at $10,400. Point guard, SGA at 10.8, James. We talk a lot about ownership and upside and things that can help you win a tournament. SGA at 1% tonight is one of those players, right? That could be the difference between taking down a GPP if he pops off and not. How do you view the top half of the point guard position tonight?
Yeah, Cade has an infinite ceiling, so perfectly fine if you end up there. Not playing Luka unless we got news that there's no limit, but just seems the most unlikely scenario that Luka is just like suddenly ramped second game back from a calf strain. So, 10-7, I don't find myself getting there. Cade, I think a lot of people will view that game yesterday. They're like, oh, they're running the game back, and we just saw what's going to happen. No, that's not how that works, right? Like,
Not usually.
the Bulls missed their first 23-point shots they take. They also make like the second most in the league per game. So if the Bulls just make more shots, it will be more competitive. So we liked Cade for the matchup. He had 40 fantasy points in 27 minutes yesterday. He plays 10 more minutes than that on average. So, I think Cade of the top like 3 guys would probably be the guy I'd prioritize. I'd rank them Cade, SGA, Luka. But Cade and SGA like way ahead of Luka.
Sure. Yeah, for me, it was more so again, just sort of the 1%er on SGA feels rare. You want to talk about forgetting about yesterday? Tyrese Maxey, 34 minutes against Toronto, 1 for 9 shooting, 1 for 7 from 3. We say all the time you have to have a short memory in these situations. Got a matchup here against Brooklyn. No Joel Embiid at $9,800. Trae Young going up against the Knicks. We know the matchup history here. We're not big narrative guys, but Trae obviously enjoys himself some Madison Square Garden in the matchup against New York. We have Edwards and Dame, both questionable. Dame, a midday questionable downgrade, so that's certainly something to watch. We have a Kyrie Irving matchup here when his team is very decimated due to injury. What do we think of the remaining point guards here?
So I think a way that you can always approach big slates is, so we have 14 games on the DraftKings main slate. I don't want to completely cut out that like games, but I might tonight.
Okay.
Philly Brooklyn is one of them where like I'm good if you get to Maxey, and I'm good if you get to Paul George and Quentin Grimes. I think those players are fine in like multi-entry. But if you're a single entry player, like you kind of have to like pick spots where you want to condense your player pool, or you're going to have the toughest time building. Because if you're playing single entry, you have 8 roster spots and there's 28 teams on the slate. So for me, like, again, if you're in large field stuff, Tyrese Maxey is a great bounce back candidate. This game also is just incredibly unappealing. It's 2 slow paced teams. Brooklyn, they're both bad defensively, but they both are in the bottom 5 in pace. There's 212 implied point total in this one. And like on Brooklyn, we know it's impossible to figure out the rotation. And on a 14 game slate, it's not even something I'm right. Pretending like they don't even exist. But like Maxey and like the rest of Philly is just large field tournament plays only, just given the slate size. Trae is definitely a little better, has a really high ceiling. The minutes for Trae have been incredible, including 43 minutes in a regulation game not too long ago. Just goes to show you where, even though Atlanta has, fallen in the standings and lost some guys at the deadline and injury, they aren't going to like shut it down. Like they're still trying to win. They're still they're giving Trae all the minutes, and he's responded really well to all that stuff. So like Trae in tournaments, Anthony Edwards getting a lot of ownership tonight. And I understand it. I mean, he has just scorched the earth.
You score 40 plus in 3 straight games, you're going to draw some eyes.
Yeah, and that goes on like the opposite end of the Maxey recency bias spectrum, right? Like he's going nuke every game and everyone's playing him, where Maxey is like barely shot yesterday, you couldn't even tell he was playing.
And nobody 2 shots playing. At halftime. I'm like, what is happening here?
So like I like Ant. Obviously the hip is a little bit of an issue. Obviously, Milwaukee looking at the situation probably like, we're going to trap this guy every time over half court and make him beat us. We've already seen that happen, right? And he had a whole post-game press conference about it. Like, I hate passing the ball. I want to shoot the ball. Like, yes, we know, but that's not what happens every time. So I like Ant. I like Dame. Obviously, the midday downgrade, not great, but the numbers without Giannis recently have been ridiculous. So if you want to get to Dame, if he plays, do it. And then Kyrie's great. I mean, Kyrie's going to play 40 minutes. They are in a win. They have to win right now. And I think like when you look at these slates too, you do really just need upside. And Kyrie, if you're thinking about it, like, yeah, Kyrie can go get me 60, right? Like you look at Kyrie, he's like, he can score me 40 actual and get me 60 fantasy points. These are the slates where I look at it and I'm like, I'm not maxing like 3-4 players on a team because I'm really limiting myself in like what I can do.
Sure.
I want upside. I'm looking for 7, 8, 9, 10x everywhere I can go. Yeah. So
that's what we talked about last night, right? Smaller slate, you're looking for raw points. 14 game slate, you need dudes that can. You upside. Said 7, 8. You need to find a 10x.
10. Yes, you 100% need the 10x. But like, Anthony, and this made me think of it with Anthony's comment, like with Pascal Siakam. Like, I think Pascal Siakam's fine, but I don't look at Pascal Siakam and I'm like, yeah, that's the guy going to get me 60.
Right.
Like, that's not, that's not like I'm not saying.
I mean, obviously the Washington matchup we talked about this was going to draw a lot of ownership to the Pacers tonight, and it has.
Yes.
Because again, Washington is just they give fantasy points away on a platter to their opponents, so. But I largely agree with you. I think if you look around the slate today, there's going to be a lot of like pivot options for you where guys can pop off. And there's so many players here. You kind of figure out where you want to go. Steph Curry, someone that I like a lot of, the matchup against Dallas, the production we've gotten. I mean, where did this Steph come 4 straight games of 30 plus actual points? He's knocking down all of his three. Like, dude, one of the best 3-point shooters of all time is taking 20, 18, 16, 16 3-point attempts, only shooting 30%, right? Like if he all of a sudden goes like he did 50%, he's got 50, 60, maybe 70 fantasy point potential here. If he starts knocking down, if he goes 10 of 16 from 3, like the game's over, So, I definitely think Steph in tournaments plays. You have Jalen Brunson at $8,400 against Atlanta on the other side of that matchup. What do we think of the rest of this 8K tier?
Yeah, love Curry. Brunson obviously in a bounce back spot. I still am skeptical OG plays. He didn't play last night. He's listed questionable again. I don't think he plays before the All-Star break, according to Shams' reporting like a few days ago. And Brunson gets the biggest usage bump on the team without OG. Really unfortunate circumstances last night. Couldn't make a shot. Had 5 fouls, 3 minutes in the second half. Never played. Like came back in the fourth quarter, played a couple minutes, checked him out. Game over. I'd be more than willing to go back to the well. The Halliburton stuff for ownership, like you don't have to. I do not care if he was playing against 5 fifth graders tonight. You could tell me that there was an elementary school team on the other side of the floor against Tyrese Halliburton. And if he is the 4th highest rostered point guard of the day, I would fade him 100 out of 100 times. I mean, like, I understand he's been, a little better. He has not given enough consistency to me to be like, yep, got to play Tyrese Halliburton tonight at on a 14-game slate in max ownership. No. Like I respect the play, just like you were talking about. It's a great matchup. It's a great pace. Everything about the game environment screams like Indiana. Great. He's chalk.
Yeah.
That is an awful feeling. If 1, this game blows out because Washington stinks. 2, if he's just like, don't feel like shooting tonight. I do that a lot. Don't need to shoot tonight. Like, there's nothing that you could tell me tonight that would want me to like make me want to play a chalky Tyrese Haliburton. Nothing.
I agree. On a 14-game slate, your most consistent outcome for him has been 40 to 43 fantasy points.
You do not win with that. You do not win a tournament with that.
No, that's just 5x. Like, that's not enough. Now, I scrolled through just to kind of highlight. He's got a 72 fantasy point game. He's got a 68 fantasy point game. Sure. He's got 4 games over 60 on the year. You get that against Washington because he took 25 shots in those games. Then yeah, sure. And we the chalk beats us here.
Yeah.
But 4 of 51 games this season has he gone for 60 or more. Like, there's just
I'm not. We know that we've said it all year. Like, he has a ceiling. And this could be a ceiling spot. But also, 4 of 61, the percentage is more likely in our favor than it's not.
Yeah, and you need Washington to also be complicit in keeping this game competitive, too,
Correct.
on the other side of that to get that.
Correct.
So I'm with you. Again, other guys in this range, Fox, Murray, McCollum back. Maybe no Zion tonight with a conditioning tag on him. Monk, a 7K range here. Anybody for you?
Yeah, I mean, Jamal Murray is interesting. Denver downgrading Aaron Gordon. So they could be possibly without Gordon, Porter, Westbrook, and Peyton Watson.
Mm-hmm.
That's 4 of their top 8 guys. Jamal Murray in that case would be Denver's just completely being disrespected with ownership tonight. And it's so awesome. It's such a good feeling. Knowing that I'm playing Jokic.
Knowing that we're getting an under 10%.
I mean, it's just the best feeling ever. So, like, I would play Murray 8K. Definitely McCollum's interesting if there's no Zion. Not paying 7,900 if Zion plays, but I would get there if Zion does not play.
Yeah.
Monk in tournaments, Garland in tournaments, Giddey in tournaments.
You trust Jordan Poole?
You can always play Jordan Poole in tournaments. He has a very high ceiling. He is someone who has had a high ceiling in multiple different facets this year, like scoring, assists. He's had a 6 steal game on his ledger this year. So yeah, I think Jordan Poole is fine in tournaments. And I think that would make sense if you're playing an Indiana guy, Anthony. Sure. You had brought up like Haliburton and Siakam. Like, you're playing those guys because you think Washington can at least stay competitive enough to get you full minutes from them. So that would be a good correlation with Jordan Poole and like one of Siakam or Haliburton.
Ownership is on your boy, Anthony Simons, here tonight.
Yeah.
As we mentioned, no Scoot Henderson, no DeAndre Ayton, maybe no Jeremy Grant tonight.
Yep.
Should play north of 35 minutes probably, I think, given the situation they got going on.
Yep.
If they can keep it at all competitive, it's likely due to Anthony Simons having like a big scoring game. Denver's not a good defensive team. They gave up 117 points to Portland the other day, just that they scored 146 themselves. So $6,300 Anthony Simons. Again, everybody's going there over 20% of the ownership. The rest of the 6K tier, though, I'm indifferent on. I guess if Jaylen Brown gets ruled out, I would go back to like Peyton Pritchard at 6K. But again, like, nothing spectacular at that price there.
Yeah, same thing with Derek White. Like, you can go back to them, but it's not like Peyton Pritchard 52, right? It's 6,000. We need like. And again, he's not going to go 2 for 9, but
won't double
where he doesn't go 2 for 9, he also is not going to give you 10 and 8 like peripheral stats. So like, Collier I think fits into like kind of similar mold. He's second in the NBA over this last 5-game stretch in potential assists per game, and he's tied for first in actual assists per game. So if you think Isaiah Collier will continue to score, the assists won't be an issue. And he closes and starts even in blowouts. So I like Collier, but not like a priority.
We got Tyus here. No Booker, no Beal. Looked good last night. Almost had the double-double.
No Grayson, too.
No Grayson as
No
well.
Grayson,
So should be locking him into some minutes tonight at 4,800.
Yeah, he should play a lot of minutes. You just need this game to stay competitive. That's all.
Yep. But this is another guy at 4,800. 36 fantasy points is your 8x.
I would love. Yeah, I mean, and we've said it repeatedly. Like, no Bradley Beal has increased Tyus Jones' role.
Mm-hmm.
This not just Bradley. Like, there's a lot of key pieces of this puzzle out. You should see max minutes Tyus Jones here. I mean, even in a game that he doesn't play the fourth quarter against Denver, and that was just with Booker. That was like their second night of a back-to-back. Ruled everybody out. No Grayson Allen, no Durant. Took 17 shots. Like, you do not see that a lot out of Tyus Jones. No. But when duty calls, right, 3 straight games of double-digit shot attempts, and the assists are there too. So yes, I agree wholeheartedly on your Tyus call.
KJ Simpson is getting love again. There's no LaMelo here. Don't love the matchup, obviously, against Orlando. So I'm probably not going here, but ownership is on Simpson.
There is another game where in single entry, I am just getting rid of this one. I mean, it is 202 implied points.
Yeah.
Like, you can make a case for me, I can make a case. I could talk myself into Musa, basically, for Charlotte, if Musa plays. Everything else, like, I get KJ Simpson's minutes or what they are, and the production's been fine. Dude, they have 94 implied points as a team.
Yeah.
94 has to be the lowest implied point total of the year for a team.
It's not good.
That is absolutely just abominable. So, like, sure, you want to play some Charlotte. I think you're going to be a little disappointed. It is 100% chalk that I'm willing to just kind of let beat me.
Sure.
You can take a lot of stands on this slate, right? Because there's a lot of different directions you can go.
I agree. We'll talk Moody at small forward.
Okay.
Delano Banton got 28 minutes in that Denver game.
He did. And
now no Scoot. Like,
yeah.
Blow runs his, and maybe just regular rotation run is there for Delano Banton tonight.
Yeah, it's not maybe. He played in the first quarter of that last game. He played in the first quarter, and he played half of the second quarter. He had double-figure minutes in the first half. He had about 11 minutes in the first half. There is a case for Delano Banton tonight because, like you said, he's in their rotation. And
we need a 10xer. Like, we've gotten 10x plus from Delano Banton before.
We have. Yeah, I mean, 34 fantasy points last game. If you were to give us that at 4K, I mean, you're cooking with something real hot. So
obviously super risky.
Yes.
But a great fantasy point per minute player. Yes. And again, no Scoot. We just assume there's an opportunity for him in the lineup. Is there anybody else that you'd be interested in? We had the Pickett comment earlier. 3,800. Went for 35 fantasy points on the other side of that matchup. If you're no Gordon, no Porter tonight.
Yeah, man, it would be tough. He's obviously playing a bunch in that scenario.
Yep. 31 and 29 minutes in 2 of the last 3.
I still think they would start Najee. I still think they would start Zeke Najee, and it would be Murray, Brown, Strother, Najee, Jokic, but Pickett would be your 6th man in that role.
Sure.
It's fine. It's fine. He's not as good as Delano Banton is per minute. So if you're playing the game for a blowout, you're just playing Delano Banton, I think, over Pickett.
Sure.
But if you got that news and Jalen Pickett was suddenly starting, well, that pivot's very easy to make. Because you have $200.
Right, because you're playing Banton already in a guard spot.
In a guard spot. Yeah, 200 less. So I saw, I think Power, welcome back, Power, talk about Alec Burks. I mean,
Rozier questionable now too.
He is questionable. Hero questionable. Duncan Robinson questionable. Like all three of those pieces questionable. Obviously like the worst possible spot imaginable.
Against the Thunder, yeah.
The Thunder, number one rated defense in the NBA. Yeah, I mean, and then but that versus what if Milwaukee's without Dame? I'd rather go with whoever the starter in Milwaukee.
Right? You think you'd rather play Ryan Rollins there?
Yeah, no, they do have KPJ, so I guess whoever
True.
would start between those two.
Do we give any like Craig Porter looks if there's no?
Probably not.
Jerome
No, the more I get the Jerome role is obviously up for grabs because he plays a serious role.
Yeah.
But it would be hard for me.
If Strus sits, Jerome sits. We talked Merrill. We'll talk Merrill in a second. But you'd rather that than Porter here?
Probably. I think there might be, just going to throw this out there too. There is like an outside chance Phoenix does something weird with their starting lineup tonight and starts like Ty Washington.
Okay.
He has been in their regular rotation the last couple games. If he was starting, I would give it one of those type of scenarios because Ty Washington would also be playing in a blowout in that scenario.
Sure.
But he would have to start.
I'll just say his name for the sake of saying it. Jared Butler played 16 minutes last night and gave you 28 fantasy points.
I mean, he's good per minute.
Great per minute. It's played start of the second quarter, start of the fourth quarter. That was his rotation run. Looked to be the direct sub for Maxey for a little bit. Maxey sub back into the second quarter. He stayed on the floor. I think probably trying to read the chart here. It looks like he stayed on the floor for Oubre maybe, and then got subbed out when Grimes came in. But I don't know. He's gonna get maybe more minutes tonight. I don't know. Just
not on this slate for me. Not on this slate for me.
And then you said yes if Ryan Rollins or KBJ, whoever started, you'd be in there?
Probably whoever would start.
Goodwin. Now, obviously, Luka is there. This could be a blowout game. We've talked him up. He's been in their rotation. Would you give him any looks?
Yeah, I think it would be. They don't have Gabe Vincent. Like Gabe Vincent's out. They don't have Dorian Finney-Smith. Dorian Finney-Smith is out. So I don't know if you saw the videos of Dalton Connect. He looks like he has no interest of being there. So no, I'm not blaming him. I'm just saying he doesn't look like he's just like moping on the sideline. So who knows if he's going to even play?
Yeah.
I'd be, it's another one of he if you get that second game, great. If you get the first game, you're dead in the water. So
players are so sensitive. It's like who cares if you got traded? You're going back. So play on your team.
Right.
All right, shooting guard again. We got a lot to get through still here. 14 games, so many men. I put Murphy as the cover of my playbook today. I mean, we know what the ceiling can be.
Yeah.
If there's no Zion, we know that he's live for 20 plus shot attempts and 15 3-point attempts. He's filling out the stat sheet, decent amount of rebounds and assists lately. This is a guy that could go give you 50, 60 fantasy points. He had that run of 50 plus in 4 straight games. Sacramento, not a great defensive team here. I kind of like some Trey Murphy.
Yeah, this game's fun. And it's getting no ownership on the Pelican side. I suspect it would change, depending on the Zion news. I think that alters things. But they have 117 implied points. It's 240 implied almost total on this game. So I agree. I think Trey Murphy's great eligibility. The playmaking is way up, and I think that even the playmaking, raises Trey Murphy's both the floor and the ceiling. So I'm in.
Yeah, I'm with you there. A lot of these guys we've kind of touched upon already. RJ Barrett being back felt like a surprise. I know.
Yeah, it kind of stinks. That hurts Toronto a lot tonight.
Yeah, and quickly he's playing a back-to-back.
Yep.
So
he's back. So I guess he's back. We're just.
He's just back. Yeah, I guess he's back. I'm willing to go back to Kobe White here. I wrote that up in the playbook. Again, you just forget what happened yesterday. You put it behind.
Agreed.
You. Didn't happen. Didn't exist. Kobe White has been really good We don't know Zach LaVine on the floor. Obviously, LaVine's not there. Lonzo's doubtful. Just forget it happened. Go back to playing Kobe White tonight. Fine in the mid-tier. And then Jordan Clarkson again. Another just really good offensive players taking a ton of three-pointers right now. There's no Colin Sexton. I'm fine in this spot. Again, I'm expecting a blowout. I'm expecting the Lakers to just run through Utah tonight like they have, but he played 29 minutes in that game. If they play 34 in the game against the Clippers, doesn't seem to really matter here. So I'm good with either of these 6K games.
Yes, agreed.
Oubre again, sort of same sense there. Good rebounding ceiling without JoJo. Christian Brown, $6,300. Again, no one's playing the Denver side of this game. So.
You could end up with such a good rostership on Denver, all things Denver. I mean, dude, if they're going into this game with 4 of their 8 out, what do you think they're going to look like? Like they're going to be so good in tournaments, man. They're going to be so good in tournaments. I'm in.
Yep, agreed. Work our way down the list. Some guys we've touched on.
Anthony, are you sure 62? I don't think any optimizer would project Amin Thompson for 62 fantasy points unless there was something glitched, because you don't you project like Jokic, Giannis.
Maybe he's saying like 62%.
There's only one player getting like ownership today. Like that would even be close, because no way Sabonis is 53 in any optimizer either.
Yeah.
Is that fantasy points? Is that?
Yeah, let us know what the 62 and 53 is, Anthony. If you're building a bunch of lineups and you're saying it's getting you to 62% Amin Thompson in your lineups or something like that, that makes a little more sense. We see him projected for like less than 40 fantasy points. So like, I don't know. Iffy. I'm iffy on that. Obviously he's a great player. He can fill up the stat sheet, give you defensive stats. There's a ceiling there. I like Sabonis more if I'm picking the two. Let's see here. Shaedon Sharpe, 5,400. No one's playing Shaedon Sharpe, 1%. We were higher on him on the previous show. You want to talk a guy that can go for 40 plus, give you 8-9x. Sharpe can do it.
Yeah, I mean, I wonder if people are just slow to the idea that he would start in this game. I guess that would be the one thing here. Yeah. Realistically, you probably need Jeremy Grant out to see Shaedon start, right? Or else he'll just be Shaedon Sharpe, not Shaedon start. Sure. That was a bar. I don't care what you say. But Scoot's obviously been their best player off the bench, and he's playing like mid to high 20s minutes a game. There was a conversation apparently between Sharpe and Chauncey, and when he originally got moved to the bench, he's like, "You're not competing at a defensive level that I want, so you're going to the bench." And he's responded well to that. If he's going to continue to play defense, and now they're shorthanded, he's going to play a lot of minutes. If Jeremy Grant gets ruled out, I'd have a hard time believing we see Shaedon Sharpe at 1%. And if it stays at 1%, he'd be one of my favorite tournament plays of the day.
Well, here's why I think it does.
Because this time of the game.
It's a 9 o'clock game. No one's going to
know. No one's going to know.
Right? Unless you're building it in, right? That he would be there, right?
I do like the 8:30 and later window of games. I think that is a very appealing pocket of games.
Well, you rarely lock in 7 p.m. anyways. You're always sort of I need the ability to move.
Yeah, unless there's something that I'm I am playing this player at 7, and I'll figure out the rest.
Yeah, if Jokic is on the 7 p.m.
I'll play Jokic.
Then you're locking in at 7.
Usually on those slates, he's 45% owned and not 10. So
yeah, 62 fantasy points, says Anthony. Those are fantasy point numbers. I don't know how anybody can project 62 fantasy points for somebody that isn't.
He might score 62, but you are not projecting him at 62.
Big news. Damian Lillard ruled out.
Oh boy.
That game
8 p.m.
is at 8 p.m., but we already have the Dame news, so we don't know who's going to start for him, and we probably won't know who's going to start for him, I would imagine. Or maybe we will. Maybe he's talking to the coach now, but we probably won't know who's going to start.
My assumption would be Rollins.
Because that's just what.
Yeah, but they also, it's hard to like say that with confidence because it was the 3rd of February and they hadn't traded for Kevin Porter
They
yet.
gave KPJ 10 minutes.
They did.
Other day.
My assumption would be Rollins, but it also could be Kevin Porter. And this is why I'm so pro waiting, right? Because like if we got the lineup news that the alert that Kevin Porter Jr. is starting, well then you're locking in.
You would have to build your lineup with KPJ so you could pivot down to Rollins.
Yeah. If you want to do that, I think that's a smart idea as well. KPJ.
It's also Minnesota. It's not like it's a good matchup for.
It's not. I'm not saying it is, but I'd bet on the $3,500 KPJ if you're starting versus just about anybody. Fair. Yeah, the price and the fantasy player, not the person, the fantasy player.
Sure. All right. Anything else after sharp for you in this low shooting guard range?
Let's see. What are we looking at shooting guard? Anything ownership that I wanted to talk about? I want to talk Nick Smith. That's another one that like I don't hate because he is like a pretty good usage player, Nick Smith. But it's another one where you look at 94 implied team total and the worst spot ever for pace. And, he's the 3rd highest shooting guard rostered on the slate. Like, it's fine, but I don't think.
I mean, they just scored 89 actual points, and he had 22.
In a game in a similar game environment, right? But
yeah.
Brooklyn's a bottom 5 defense in the NBA, and they scored 89 points. Orlando is not that defensively. Obviously, like they don't have Jalen Suggs, but it's not getting any better for them in this spot.
No, I'm with you. I'm not really in on that play. Either I'd rather play Grimes if you want to go there. I don't mind LeVert if you think he's going to keep playing the way.
Buddy Hield at 5K.
Buddy Hield for sure. Gary Trent becomes a little bit more interesting without Dame Lillard. I mean, the minutes have been there. You talk about sort of the disappearing shot attempts. Well, 25 shots just became available. I don't think Ryan Rollins is taking them. So, Gary Trent could be out there free shooting time against Minnesota.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you can play Banton here as well. Or Pickett.
You can play Banton. You can play Pickett. I see Aaron Nesmith getting ownership. I know that has to do with him just simply starting yesterday. I mean, what? He also had massive foul trouble, and that is what Aaron Nesmith is a good defender, but he also can get in massive foul trouble. Another possible scenario for Phoenix. Steph Curry's cousin may start here, John, or Steph Curry's brother-in-law may start here.
Steph Curry's brother.
Damian Lee.
Oh, Damian Lee's still in the league.
He's actually been dusted off a little bit lately. 3,200. I'm just not ruling anything out for Phoenix tonight. Just like brutal loss last night. They all play big minutes. They are shorthanded. Second leg of a back-to-back going into the break. And everything's reportedly a mess, right? You try to trade Kevin Durant without him knowing. He's like, what are you doing? Now they're not even making money at the concession stands because they're charging $2 for everything. Like everything's salute to Ishmael for doing that, but everything's a mess. So not ruling anything out here.
Okay, small forward. We'll talk LeBron and Tatum at power forward. We got Scotty Barnes 91, Franz Wagner 87. Him and Paolo are the cover of our live show.
Yeah, I think the picture was cool.
Cool.
I like the picture.
Yeah. Ahmed Thompson's here as well. I don't know. Again, 62 finishes. I don't know. I just kind of plugged Butler in my builds. Like everybody else is fine again, but like I was in on Jimmy when he joined. I've been in on Jimmy against Milwaukee. The minutes 29 and 31. You got to think those will just go up if they find themselves in a competitive game. And the man is averaging 14 free throw attempts a game in the 2 games.
So I know
And Dallas, if you haven't checked, has no rim protection.
I have heard why the minutes are. Jimmy says his conditioning sucks.
Well, yeah. He's been making coffee
for 3 months. For a long time. Yeah, he said his conditioning, he hates where his conditioning is at, is why the minutes have been where they are. So
yeah, John Isaac now
he's out. Yeah, he's toast. Yeah, he's toast.
So Butler at 79 for me is where I really like to go here. Again, I don't mind Wagner if you think that like he is the one that just scores all the points tonight. Yeah, we've seen him do that plenty of times. But of this group, Butler for me, of that top tier.
Yes. I like Jimmy. I like Franz. I don't love the game, but Franz has obviously been great. And Amen Thompson is good. Anthony, yes. But like all these games have recently been played without Fred VanVleet. It's not just tonight. You can make the case if Şengün sits, you give a higher ceiling. And he may score 60 fantasy points. But what John and I are telling you is that you will not, like, that is not going to be a projection for somebody. 62 fantasy points is just not like a base projection for a player.
Projecting him to do that when he's done it once in 7 games feels very...
It's in the range of outcomes for sure. It's like if you are running a simulator and...
in the right game environment, it's in the range of outcomes.
If this game stays competitive and he plays 40 minutes, there's a chance because Phoenix is so bad defensively and they're potentially shorthanded. But nobody is just baseline projecting Amen Thompson for 60 fantasy points.
Yeah, I agree. And listen, you've talked about Houston struggles recently. They've scored 94, 105, and 97 points in 3 of the last 4 games. If they're not scoring 120 points, Amen Thompson's opportunity to score 60 fantasy points is certainly a bit lower. Carlucci talking about Osor. We'll talk about him in a moment. I was in on him last night. Did everything you wanted to do, but 22 minutes and a blowout and 5 fouls. So
was that game a blowout? I didn't even know. They didn't even play last night, I don't think.
Yeah. Let's see. Jalen Williams is fine at 76. No check tonight.
Yep.
Do that there. DDR is okay. 7K against Pelicans. Good price point for him. He's been really good lately. Denny, again, if you spin the wheel of destiny.
I almost think he has to play significant minutes if there's no Jeremy Grant. But if there's Jeremy Grant, if Jeremy Grant's rolled in, Jesus take the wheel. We have no idea what Denny's minutes are going to be.
Agreed. Again, Kuzma will get a bump, but it's not an easy matchup. He's going to have Jaden McDaniels just defending him all night on this one.
Yeah, so. Kuzma is so I'm the captain now meme tonight. It's so funny. It's going to be so funny.
Yeah.
Him and Bobby Portis just fighting over who the captain is.
Yeah. Hachimura's been really good. I know Luka's in, but Luka played the other day too, and Hachimura was great.
Yep.
So if you want to go there at 61, we'll go here. So 22 minutes against Chicago, 7 of 8 shooting, 3 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 blocks, 4 steals, 5 fouls, 36.75 fantasy points, and 22 minutes. The fouls were something that you were worried about with him. He basically did everything in one. He gave you 36 fantasy points in 22 minutes. He gave you 35 fantasy points in 23 minutes of the game before that. I mean, he has been pretty damn good here from a fantasy point per minute perspective. I will run this right back and hope that it's more competitive and hope he doesn't foul out because I think that we're getting evolution level upgrades here on Thompson here now that he's just halfway through this.
Yeah,
season.
If you're looking at I would rather play you look at some of the players that kind of look similar to him. I'd rather play Asar Thompson than a chalky Royce O'Neal for $200 cheaper. Because I don't know what that's going to end. Royce O'Neal's fine as a player, but $5K in a brutal spot, right?
Yeah.
I'd probably rather play Asar Thompson than a chalky Quentin Grimes, who I think is fine, but that game just absolutely stinks. And again, Grimes has also been good. And probably plays a boatload of minutes again. But I think Asar Thompson just has the ceiling that we're looking for. Unfortunately, we're not going to ever get the minutes that we want.
Ooh. Tyrese Maxey now questionable.
So Carlucci posted it in our Discord this morning. You guys can, if you sign up for Fantasy Alarm, there's a 7-day free trial. You'll get this information. But Carlucci said Nick Nurse was asked about Tyrese Maxey. And the quote was, "I don't really want to speculate too much before I talk to him. I have a feeling that there's something. I hope not, but I think there may be something physically bothering him," end quote. So I see a smirk coming from your mouth. And I know that smirk in the corner of it was whispering like you're like, "Oh, Jared Butler, you see?" I could see you saying, "Son of a B, I told you Jared Butler was in play." And you know what? If I see Jared Butler in a starting lineup that Nick Nurse operates, I will be clicking that button so fast.
3,100, 38 minutes, no Lowry, no
Mega
Gordon.
hung. He is mega hung. Huh, Justin?
Yeah.
He's mega. Is he, Justin?
Could be.
What?
Yeah, I see the quote.
I know. I just got him.
Yeah, Jared Butler is about to be 90% rostered on a 14-game slate. So
I would love.
You canceled this game out, by the way.
It's uncanceled.
Now it's uncanceled.
It has to be. Wait.
Okay, talk Paul George.
All right, is Paul George safe?
He's $7,500.
Is he safe here?
I don't know. OG Anunoby is a game time decision. Nick Claxton also a game time decision. I mean, you get Paul George, no Maxey, no Embiid.
Man, I was kind of going into this slate with like a 2-man rule because I think you would seriously limit yourself. But like, I probably still have that rule. You would just have to make the decision, like if they ruled out Maxey and let's say Butler started, you're playing Butler, and then you would have to make the decision whether you want to play Paul George or we haven't even talked the center room or because I don't think
Yabusele.
Yeah, Yabusele or if they started Quentin Grimes. Because I don't think this is like a play 3-4 guy slate. Sure. I mean, there's just too many options, right? Unless a team just said, "I'm ruling 12 guys out. I got 8. Here you go." That would be like so.
I mean, would you rather play Josh Hart or Paul George?
If in this scenario Maxey's out,
yeah,
it's a great question. And OG's out in this scenario too?
OG's out. We don't know if OG's out, by the way. I'm just saying in this scenario.
They're both out.
If they're both out.
I'd probably play Paul George team to himself.
Paul George, right? You think so?
But I'm also understanding that the other game environment is so much better.
Yeah, better, for sure. Your value at small forward tonight is Moses Moody.
Moosis Moody? Moosis
Moody.
Moosis Moody?
41.
Yeah.
That's where everybody that's where the chalk is here.
I mean, this is under the assumption that Steve Kerr does something normal and runs with the same lineup that he has run 2 games in a row. I'm not convinced that happens. You're convinced with a Steve Kerr-led team that they're going to start the same lineup twice in a row?
Nope.
Because they've started Quentin Post all these other games. And then they said, nope, not starting Quentin Post here. We're going to start Moody. I'm not convinced that happens here. I'm not saying Moody's a bad play, but I'm not saying Moody's a good play if he doesn't start.
Yeah.
So, another scenario where like a 4,100 chalk. I'm just like anti-chalk until we get to Bowl, right? That's basically where I'm at today.
Yeah, let's go to power forward then so we can get there.
Okay.
Because we're going to get some ownership updates, obviously, with all the news that's coming out of Bowl. Now trending towards 60% rostered on the slate. But your top guys at power forward, you have LeBron at 10.5. You've talked him up, obviously, triple-double numbers. But Luka in. We were more in on LeBron if Luka was out.
Yes.
We have Jason Tatum at $9,900. We don't know the Jaylen Brown status. We haven't really gotten a true ceiling Tatum game in a little bit, but he did have 20 actual in the third quarter the other night, so we know what he can do. You have Kevin Durant, who is getting ownership tonight. He's like the fifth highest roster player, team to himself, $9,000, but 43 minutes last night. Do we think he has it in him in this matchup against Houston to sort of pay that back off?
I'm not even convinced he plays. Coming off a sprained ankle, 43 minutes. You know he celebrated last night. He's one of 8 players in the history of the NBA to have 30,000 points.
And he's going to wear about 30,000 jerseys by the time his career is over.
Yeah, future Rocket, Kevin Durant. I mean, I'm not even, if he plays, he's fine for sure. Team to himself. Kevin Durant loves playing basketball. He
doesn't care what jersey he's wearing as long as it says Durant on the back.
I don't even know if he cares if it says Durant on the back. Like he played for the Yankees. If that meant he's playing basketball, they don't have names on the back.
As long as it says 35 on the back.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think LeBron was definitely better sans Luka, but you know he obviously has a ceiling. Tatum has a ceiling. If there's no Jaylen, he stands out as a pretty good spend up. You can get to Durant. I think the next tier of guys is like they're all interesting. Like I don't really have anything of like prioritization, truthfully, John. Like I think that there's a lot of good plays. Mobley's solid. Paolo's solid.
Zion, if he's in, obviously went for 40 actual in the same spot.
Yeah, Zion has a ceiling. Siakam is safe in a cash game in a single entry. J-Dub is solid. We talked about Paul George could play here. I do think Bobby Portis becomes a little more intriguing, you know, with the news. They're going to need offense. We saw what they looked like, no Dame and Giannis earlier in the year. It was a lot of Bobby Portis. That stretch of games, Bobby Portis was like, holy smokes, this looks like the best player in the NBA. What did Nikola Mirotic?
A 70 bomb in there against Washington because they're bad.
I was wondering what Nikola Mirotic was thinking when he was watching Bobby Portis. Shout out Nikola Mirotic. I think Bull is chalk that you just want to play tonight.
Yeah,
that is the play that I am hitching my wagon to. He has just been
good on us talking him up the game, like the preview show before. And then while we were recording the preview show this morning, he gets put into the starting lineup, and we have to basically like live pause the show while we were recording to like adjust our lineups to get him in there. Yeah, Anthony, that's not an update. We started the show off no Booker, Beal, Grayson Allen. We knew. We knew.
Jonathan Isaac out.
Jonathan Isaac's out. And then I cashed last night because Bol was in my lineup. Like him and Durant both went for 50 plus for me. I 3-man stacked.
Nobody
Booker sadly did poorly, but swapping from Tyus to Bol and getting up from Triple J to Durant was the reason I cashed last night. So I mean, listen, we're getting the Orlando run from him from like a couple years ago where he's just like on the floor, double-doubling, blocks and steals. 10 3-point attempts in back-to-back games for a 7-5 Bol.
He's going to start.
Yeah, should.
And he rejects every shot known to this planet. And Houston attacks the rim a lot. Like it's going to be
Bol is what we wanted Thon Maker to be, you know?
Bol was Wemby before Wemby.
Yeah. Oh, man. Thon Maker, that guy. Milwaukee almost had a Giannis Thon Maker lineup, you know? So.
Shout out Thon Maker. Yeah, shout out Thon Maker.
Yeah, that's
Play
all.
Bol. Play Bol.
Prosper played a whole ton of minutes. He'll have to play a whole ton of minutes if they're just without everybody again.
If PJ sits, for sure.
And I would play PJ, by the way, if PJ is in. I think if PJ plays, I would have some interest.
Yeah, two guys we didn't mention in that mid-tier are PJ and Michael Porter. Both those guys are firmly in play.
Agreed. I don't mind going back to Matis if you wanted to. We actually had a pretty good game at just 19 minutes because they got smashed. So if you think that doesn't happen again, I'm cool going there if you want. And then Matovic, you called out, right? Like there's no Zion.
If there's no Zion, yeah. If he has to start, in my opinion.
Yeah, but when he's been extended the last 3 games,
yes,
been really good. So
for sure.
All right, let's go to center. Joker's 5% at 12.5. We'll see if that number goes up.
I don't think it will.
Maxey gets ruled out. It's a 3K play. People might find their way to Jokic there, but we'll see.
You do need, for what it's worth, John. You do need 80 from Jokic tonight.
I agree.
Like you need 80 fantasy points from Nikola Jokic.
It doesn't take too long there. It takes a couple of minutes once he gets officially edited out. So we'll make sure we refresh that for you there. But it should not take too long to get players ruled out from the projections and lineup generator there. So bear with us. We'll be looking to that for you. It needs 80. I agree with you. You need to get there on an under-owned slate to get it to at that price to pay that off, right? So
the Milwaukee stuff should be updated modestly. So just give it a minute and that will update in a second.
Okay. Let's see. Obviously, Wemby's there. He had a huge game against Washington. What do you think now? I mean, so Anthony said he doesn't know the minutes for the Pacers center, but it's been pretty clear that it's
Thomas Bryant.
Been Thomas Bryant.
So I do think last night was a scenario where we had kind of talked about it. It led to more Thomas Bryant, right? Big body Towns. And Towns absolutely, there's nothing he could do about it. Towns absolutely demolished him.
I'm getting ownership tonight too. 70 fantasy points last night, $9,400 tonight. Like,
I'm not fully convinced that we get the same minutes from Thomas Bryant. I do think that there's, merit to playing some more small ball in this one.
Sure. They have Sarr back, they could do.
Yeah, they have Sarr back. So, Thomas Bryant is definitely fine. But they are definitively saying, "Oh, I see the eyebrows raised." What do we got?
Moussa Diabate ruled out tonight.
Oh boy, they have literally Taj Gibson and Yusuf Nurkic.
Are they forced to play Nurkic more than they want to tonight?
Can he? He hasn't played in months.
They might have to.
It's been a full month since Yusuf Nurkic has played.
I agree. He's been practicing though.
Yeah, I know. And they're gonna play him, but what is the minutes that you need Yusuf Nurkic at to play?
At 4,500? I don't know, 25.
25? I projected him at 24.
Okay. He's always been a pretty good fantasy point per minute guy, and you got to think now, there's no one there, right? So I'm not playing him. I'm just suggesting that he's probably has to play tonight, right? Or do they go Miles Bridges? I mean, they can't even go Bridges because they don't have enough depth on their roster. Salon, we didn't talk about
small ball Salon. They play small ball Salon. They could definitely do that.
Right? Sure. That's we didn't talk him, but you've called him out a few times. Again, we hate this game, so I don't really want to keep talking.
I know. The game stinks. It really stinks.
All right, so your value centers tonight are Bryant and what was the other one there? Klingon, yep. Sarr's getting ownership at 54. I don't know what he's going to play for minutes, though. Maxey officially out.
Nurse does give us some early data, so we should probably know who's going to start in his steed.
Yeah, 7:30 game, so hopefully, I think at this point you just play Butler anyways. He was the definite backup to Maxey last night on Add More Funds. You look at the rotations.
Yep.
So I think regardless, you just play Butler, and then if he plays more minutes or starts, great.
Yeah, I'm excited. I'm in. I'm a buyer. I'm a believer. 3.1K.
3.1K. Butler's been a
believer.
monster this year.
I'm a believer.
No, there was another. Yabusele, obviously, we talked about. There was another guy that I thought was getting ownership. Maybe it was just
John Collins, Duran.
Maybe Collins. Yeah, maybe. I mean,
Duran.
I could just look instead of playing this stupid guessing game on myself.
Duran's getting a bunch of ownership.
Yeah, actually, it's changed since the last time I saw it. It's Brian, and then it's a clear drop off after that. So Towns is your second highest center tonight at 16%. So can go there.
Jokic is on the move too, by the way.
Who's he?
Jokic is up to 8%.
I told you to wait till that news officially coming down right now. I bet we get him over 10% after that because people are going to be like, "Oh man, I have a $3,000 point guard."
I'm still playing him for the record. I'm not. This is not me shying away.
We're going to build a lineup right now. We're going to go Jokic and we're going to go Butler. We're going to start there.
What a
probably
slate.
Still go Anthony on the other side of that shooting guard.
What a slate! Justin Carlucci is going to win the $1 million tournament this evening with Jared with his favorite team with some Jared Butler, Paul George. It's going to be the only thing the Sixers have given him this year. It's going to be $1 million.
Dude, we're going to do the Kevin Porter Jr. right move, and then we'll move down to Rollins if he starts.
Yeah, obviously we need to know what it's going to be. The Milwaukee thing is tough because we have no clue what they're going to do.
No, but we do know they're going to at least start Rollins right?
Yes,
like
yes, for sure.
All right, $6,100 here. What's our next move?
$6,100. Bull. What are we doing here?
Yeah, Bull.
Figure it out, dude. Get your life together.
A lot of players. $6,700 here.
By the way, just want to throw this out there. You had talked to Gary Trent. He is now the third highest rostered player of the day.
Dude, I'm serious. Gary Trent might be the play.
23% on a 14-game slate. I am.
40-minute small forward. That gives us 8,100 for two players.
Oh,
we can play the 63 fantasy point Ahmed Thompson.
But
what?
I dropped the pretzel rod. I got. You know what?
Yeah, we can.
It's not an ad, by the way. Not an ad here. But if Utz wants to sponsor us, greatest salt. Look at the salt on these pretzel rods, John. I mean, just talk about elite salt distribution. That's what I was laughing at.
You get a nice little beer cheese in there. You can, do a little.
Oh, dude. You know what? This is why we can sort out our Boston and New York differences here, because nothing like a good pretzel and a beer cheese. Literally nothing on the planet. I would take that on if I had three things to bring with me to a deserted island, I would
pretzels
bring
and beer cheese.
Pretzels and beer cheese would be up there, yeah, for sure.
All right, I'm just saying, if you want to double spend tonight, now
oh my God, this is. You know what though? Like, it's 14 games. Like, you can be so silly because if Jokic and Cade go, you get 160 fantasy points from them or 150. Love that one. Yep. Love that one for sure. Yeah.
We're $100 off. We're $100 off.
You could play PJ there though, and
who?
PJ Washington, team to
just pivot to Portis or something like that.
Yeah, if Portis were to start, you play Portis. Yeah, I mean, yeah.
I mean, we don't know if PJ Washington's obviously playing or not, but we could go Butler and then 84 util. Just play Allen Thompson. Murphy's cover my. We'll go Murphy. Cover my playbook.
Yeah, that's a good. Yeah, I like that one.
Jared Butler, Anthony Simons, Gary Trent, Bol, Nikola Jokic, Kevin Porter Jr. / Ryan Rollins, depending on who starts there. Jimmy Butler and Trey Murphy, $200 left over. Good luck, everybody. 14 games, plenty of injury news still to come. Major injury news that already came through. Get your Jared Butler shares in your lineup tonight. This guy has been fantastic this year. It's very hard to miss at $3,100. So you basically have to not play. I'm just saying. I mean, I'm trying to see if we can get like one last update here before we like rock. Don't
KPJ.
have the Butler news
It's
yet.
all KPJ.
Yeah, it's all KPJ right now. That's true. All right, everybody. Good luck again. We'll be back tomorrow, or I'll be back tomorrow. Actually, Grande's gone. I think it's me and Keith. I think for the live show. I got to check the schedule there. And that's the All-Star break. So last show for a week. Tomorrow, tune in. We'll have the preview show.
We'll have the preview. Yeah, me and you will have the preview show. You and Keith back live.
Yep. All righty, guys. We'll talk to you later.